It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. If you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. The sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special path tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
All right. Thank you, Derek, Baker Six Clan, and our featured patrons, Deuteronomy 31:8, Sasquatch Lover, Anje Adaman, Emily Renee, Scout Mom 5, Anspire Crew, Scrabble Hounds, Jinxer 05, Just B, that's just JUS-B, Just B, and our new patrons, Flowers 22 and Ilmop. I love that one, Ilmop. Well, let's jump right into show 270. As we talk about 3 new geocaching attributes that we desperately need.
We desperately need them.
Desperately need. Well, we might.
And then Jesse will play the card of, do we really?
Do we really need
Do
them?
we really? So
Do
we'll
we?
get there. But not to jump ahead.
Yes.
We got news to get through first.
Desperately need them. Okay, yeah, no, we have news to do. Let's do some news. Start off reminding people, Podcast to Hope 2021, our 6th annual Podcast to Hope will be December 5th. So mark your calendars appropriately. From 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. You got to start doing, at least in the U.S., everybody does different weeks or week.
Yeah. When can we vote on getting rid of that thing?
Rid of it. I vote right now we get rid of it because I'm tired.
Yes.
Of going back.
I don't think anybody actually wants that anymore.
No. How would you like to be in? There's a part in Australia that does. It has a half hour. How'd you like to switch that? How'd you like to go to that system?
No.
No.
I don't think so. Just no.
Half hour. Wouldn't that be great? No.
Yeah.
So 4 p.m. Central Standard Time to midnight. We announced the lineup a few weeks ago. Go check out that show and hear about the lineup. We are starting to gather in prizes, which are great. Thank you, sponsors of Podcast to Hope. We greatly appreciate that. We've got some cool prizes this year already, and we haven't even. We're still a ways out. So that's cool. I think that's great that not only do people give directly, to St. Jude, and just a reminder is the giving for Podcast Hope doesn't go through our hands. It goes straight to St. Jude. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you don't have to worry about us trying to skim some off or something. It doesn't. We use a link. It goes straight from you to St. Jude. So number one. Number two is I think it's just great that we have people who want to give prizes to incentivize others to
absolutely
give to St. Jude. So that's I have people every year who I don't even just before we even mentioned Podcast of Hope, they contact me, and Scrabble Hounds is one. And
So they're asking about the link that you have. If Derek can possibly post that in the chat room as well.
Yeah, we'll do that
while we're going. We don't want to miss anybody have to miss out. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, no problem. You and people can give any time. If they want to give early, that's fine.
Yeah, this is not about us bragging about how much money we've given. Take that link. Don't even tell anybody. Donate to St. Jude. People that don't even watch it, obviously spread the news about the show as far as people come in and donating that one, because it'd be fun or giving away prizes. But if you can't come or you can't donate, or you just spread the word and get money raised for St. Jude. That's all we're trying to do. We only set a number so we can try really hard.
Yeah.
We don't want the show to get any recognition for it. We're not trying to. This is not a brag thing. This is just as many people as we can spread it to raise money for St. Jude. That's all that matters.
That's right. And
we're going to celebrate when we raise money because we're happy that we get to raise money, but it's definitely not for us. This is the one thing we do. Everything else we do is about a selfish game that we play. This is the one thing we do that's not selfish, right? Grown people playing a game in the woods, that's all for fun.
Right.
This one episode we do all year long is for serious.
Right. Yeah, we can brag a little. Well, the bragging is it turned toward, we brag about us, but the point is that we brag that we're trying to give as much as we can to St. Jude. So
yeah, and to be fair, we're not bragging about us. We're bragging about the awesome people that are contributing. Yes, we have awesome people that listen to this show that are contributing. That's all. Now, we contribute too, but nobody knows what we contribute. We're bragging about what they contribute, and we're so thankful every year that we have a group of people that care enough, because nobody's going to know who gave what.
Right.
They don't know. This is all they're doing it because it's a good thing, not because they get the prizes we give don't match the donations we take in for St. Jude. Nowhere close. We have some good prizes, but we didn't have $10,000 worth of prizes last year. You know what I mean? The people are the generosity of our group here is way more than any prizes we could ever give out.
Yep. And the cause is something we will never, till we can get rid of it, till we can get rid of childhood cancer and other diseases like that. But we're going to be relentlessly every year trying to do as much as we can. And following St. Jude is really kind of cool as well, because they, as a hospital / organization, have really done a lot. I mean, if you think about taking childhood cancer survival rate from 20% to 80%, I mean, I know they're really working hard to try to get it even every day closer and closer to 90 or 100% survival. They're working really hard on that, and that's that is so important in
right. And the thing to know too is not just childhood cancer. That's the one that gets the biggest headlines, right?
It does.
But it's also sickle cell, and there's a bunch of it's childhood diseases that they attack. Right. And unlike most of the medical industry, St. Jude is not getting rich off this. They're doing groundbreaking research all the time, and they literally give this research out to other hospitals so they can save other people. Unlike a lot of that we see nowadays, medical industry making money off of medicine and everything else, they could make tons of money off this if they wanted to, but that's not what their mission is. Their mission is to save kids and not make families have to pay for it. And they're doing that year after year, completely selfishly.
Right.
That didn't sound right. Okay. But anyway, they're doing this every year. And childhood cancer, obviously, it's one of those terrifying things. So that gets the most press. But they do tons of diseases and, not getting rich off any of it. So
they do incredible work. So December 5th or before, if you want, or you can do it after even.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
What we do, and we'll still do it this year as well, but if you give prior, if you can't make December 5th, you want to give prior, we take all the people that have given before, and we kind of throw them in the first hour giveaway, just to kind of, because, so that's just, something that we just trying to give them an opportunity if they can't be there. Yeah. We're
for the audio listeners, Houston, Texas Dave asked about a Podcast of Hope Geocoin. It is a possibility in the future. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of licensing, and they have to be careful with who they partner with and who they allow to do things. So we're making sure we jump through all the hoops to do it right, so that it's a positive thing for St. Jude. And if we can, we will absolutely make one, as long as it benefits them and it helps their mission. We would love to have one. So the answer to having a coin for the Podcast of Hope, absolutely. But we just want to make sure, and we're working on that, make sure we do it right. We don't want anything that would ever take away from their mission. That would be horrible. So, yes, that is in the works. We are trying to do that.
Yep. Nels, good question. I'm going to go, I've got to upload the show notes tonight. So I'll try to remember to jump over to that page and update, because I put it as, because I didn't want to give out the schedule until we did the announcement. Now we've done the announcement, I'll put the schedule out there. So if you're interested in any kind of, if you want to watch the show, the lineup show, or if you're listening to this, you want to know where you want to go, where you can go to see the show when it does come out, it is going to be geocachetalk.com/hope. Very simple. That's the location you want to go on the website for that. And the schedule will be out. I'll put that up pretty soon. If not tonight, I'll try to do it this week.
Right. So I expect the coin thing to be something in the future.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do that till we can do it absolutely right.
Yeah. We at least discussed it with them a little bit, and we would have to go through some hoops, because they're very careful, rightly so. They're very careful about their their brand. So image.
And they, and I know we got to get back on track into the news, right through the news, but it's more than just being possessive about their brand. They are one of those charities, and you can check it out, that actually spend their money the right way. They're not having, they're not wasting money. They're spending it the right way. So
yeah, they do. They're very good about that.
We're going to continue to do everything we can to help them out. It's not what our show is mainly about, but for that one day a year, for that 8 hours a year, it is.
Yeah.
So
that's why we can stray. There'll be parts of the show that are not about geocaching, and that gives us a chance to do something a little bit different too.
Yeah. Well, we still want it to be fun, right? It's not just a boring fundraiser. We want it to be fun and with something that we're interested in. So there's nothing saying we can't have fun,
right,
while we're trying to do something good.
Yeah. I mean, I start by July, I've kind of already begun to send notes out to people that I'd love to see on the show, or I try to get the process going. I talked to Joshua. Joshua does a couple of the hours, so I talked to him a little bit ahead of time to figure out, what he is thinking he'd like to do. We kind of coordinate, a couple of the different shows. So anyway, looking forward to another great lineup of superstars for that event. So December 5th. All right. November 23rd. Let me double check. Make sure I get my dates right here. Yes, that's a Tuesday. We have a 5th Tuesday in November, and the way we do it is the 9th and the 16th. The 2nd of November and the 30th of November are Gadget Talk nights.
You're making it so complicated.
I know. The 9th and the 16th are Puzzle Talk. So we have an extra Tuesday night. So we're going to have a patron party. We've done those we've done 2 or 3 this year already. They're a lot of fun. Everybody gets to participate. Anybody can win because we play these Jackbox games where the audience are actually participate. And so
it's just a hangout time.
It is, but it's fun.
But to sum all that up, all that crazy explanation, November 23rd, Tuesday night, we're doing a patron party.
Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time Patron Party. All
Okay.
right.
It gets so confusing.
It is kind of confusing. People ask all the time, but it's the way we figured it out to do. And so anyway.
So before you get to the next item, let me do my two, because yours is going to be more. Okay. So I think you may have already mentioned it, but tomorrow night we have book club. It's our monthly book club for patrons. This, I don't even know when we started that, but it was several months ago. And it was a COVID issue, because that's why we started a virtual book club, because so many things were shut down. Well, it's taken a life of its own, and we've been doing it every single month since then. And tomorrow night's book is the Book of Lost Names. And I'm not going to say anything about it tonight. Any patron that wants to jump in, even if you haven't read it. I will tell you, the ones that did read it, they probably already know this is probably the best book we've picked ever. It's very exciting, and it's historical fiction, but it was an exciting book. And I am not a history guy, but it was really, I can't wait till we get to discuss this one. I've been anticipating this since I finished the book. So
Cool.
Just for anybody that doesn't know, the book club, if we get a geocaching book, we do a geocaching book, but we tend to call it geocaching adjacent. So we'll do anything geocaching related, hiking, outdoors, adventurous, puzzle related. We just pick a book each month. The group picks a book each month, and then we go through it and discuss it. Now, no matter what we've read so far, every time the discussion ends up getting back to geocaching, because that's what we all do, right? We relate a lot of our life lessons to geocaching. So even if you haven't had a chance to read, if you're a patron, jump in there. All the information is on the patron feed, and jump in there and have fun with us. We have fun half the time. Every single time there's at least one person that hasn't read anything of the book. Right. But it's okay, because we have fun having a discussion anyway. So, and then it was too depressing to do our webcam update. So I've decided for a new update, we're going to do the favorite point watch on Geocache Talk's virtual plaque at Mingo.
Oh, cool.
I think that's more fun than watching the dwindling resource we have of webcam.
Yeah.
So we have passed 400 favorite points on Mingo.
That is awesome.
On our
virtual
plaque near Mingo, virtual near Mingo, the world's oldest cache plaque.
Yeah.
And if anybody's looking at it or following it at all, there's some great photos on there and some really great comments too. So it's kind of fun to watch that one, because it's a virtual, and while it published under my account, so I get to watch it, that one really belongs to all of us. And it's kind of a fun one to watch as it rises to the top of the favorite points for of cache favorite points in the state of Kansas.
Yeah.
It'll never reach Mingo, and it shouldn't.
No.
But it's neat to watch it rise. Yes, and Ryan's truck, his trackable truck, is still posted in Mingo.
It's still in Mingo. It's been, that's been
not in Mingo, but in the plaque, in the virtual plaque. And actually, other people have done it too. It's kind of funny. So if anybody doesn't know, you can drop a trackable in a virtual. Which doesn't make any sense why they would allow that. But since you can, it's funny to do. And if you want to be mean, don't do what Jesse does. If you want to be mean, people almost always leave their vehicles up for grab, because they want to drop it in different locations. And it's kind of funny to grab them and drop them in a cache somewhere.
Throw them there.
It's just kind of funny.
Realizes,
it doesn't mess up their map, because if they don't like it, they don't think it's funny, they can just delete that log. It's pretty simple to do, but it's kind of funny that people are like, what, how did my trackable get into a virtual somewhere?
The Mars rover, it visited Mingo. So
that's right. It sure did. I think they deleted that one, but
they probably did.
It's just kind of funny. And if you don't like it, I don't care. It's a funny joke, and you can easily take it back. It's not going to mess anything up. So, but
definitely.
Albedos, this is my car went to Australia one time.
Right.
That's a good car.
There you go. Good job. Yeah, that's.
But anyway, so our new watch now is on the virtual, the Geocache Talk virtual plaque.
Yeah, and 402.
Well, not Geocache Talk, but we were part of it, right? The whole Mingo crew was a part of that one. So
Yep.
I don't want to take anything away from the crew that put on the mega, obviously, but we get to watch it because it's kind of fun to watch. And then book club tomorrow night. So now you have another one,
Awesome.
A fun project to bring up.
I got one last one tonight before we get into the topic. Last news item. We've got a new project that we are announcing. I guess I'm going to spill the beans tonight.
I guess it's bean spilling. But Derek's asleep, so
I guess
we don't get to do the bean spilling thing.
I guess I'm spilling the beans tonight.
Oh no, Gary just spilled the beans. Oh no,
Jesse
just spilled the beans.
Now he's just going to torture us.
He's just going to let us.
Oh no, Gary just spilled the beans.
Now
that's what we get for picking on the producer.
That's right. Now he just he's like, yeah, you want it? I'll show it to you now, right?
All right. So announce the next project.
The next project is the Geocache Talk Network Path Tag project.
Yes.
And here's what we are doing. Patrons of the Geocache Talk Network are going to select the next Geocache Talk Network Path Tag. Now, everyone.
But there's more to it than that, right?
There's more to it. The patrons are going to be they're going to be the ones picking it. But everyone, patrons and non-patrons, or whatever you want to call yourself, that you listen or watch the show, everyone out there can participate. And even if you don't watch the show, if you tell somebody else about it, everyone, all people of the world can participate by sending in their path tag artwork to geocachetalk@gmail.com. And we want, if you would, when you do that, add a hashtag, which I'll put in the chat room, but it's @GTN, short for Geocache Talk Network, GTN Path Tag Project. It just helps me sort the emails when they do come in. So
the designs can be pretty much anything then, right?
Yeah, what we would ask to be
family friendly, or it's going to be thrown out immediately.
Well, yeah, I guess number one is obviously Jesse and I have sort of the network has sort of the final say, so we're not going to end up with Bodie McBoatface on the path tag.
I don't know, Cashy McCashface could be pretty cool.
Bodie McBoatface. If you want to go read about what happened in Australia, it's a funny story. Anyway, we're not going to hit up with a mosquito on the net because that's what they almost had in Mississippi as the state flag. But anyway,
no. But if it's appropriate and all the patrons think it's the best design, that's what we'll go with. But why would anybody take their time to do that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, here's what happened.
I wasn't asking them. I was asking you, Gary.
I was getting to that point.
Okay.
I was getting there. But if you provide the artwork that ends up winning the contest, you get 100 free path tags of that design.
Hard to beat that.
That's right. And then we'll put that into our rotation, of path tags. Their current one is this one. Flat Jesse. That would be, hey, there you go. That all works.
There was no such thing as Giga Stop trying.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That was a good one.
But it's not limited to just logos. I mean, it could be anything cool caching related, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have to have the logo. We've done that a few times now on there. We did an X tag back in the day, which was this one. Some people have this one, but so it's very traditional.
But we'll stick with a path tag this time, right? Not an X tag.
Yes. No, not an X tag. It's a path tag.
Didn't X tag go away?
It became Aardvark, and I don't know what we've heard about Aardvark.
It switched over. Yeah.
So so that's kind of cool. I think it's a cool little giveaway. Get 100 free. As Direwolf said, that's like $200 worth of path tags. So So there you go.
Well, we really want a good one, right?
Yeah,
we really want a good one. So we want to open it up, not just be our, 5, 6, 7, 8 brains. We want everybody to really contribute to this and come up with a cool one. Come up with a neat path tag. We,
right.
by the time it's done, it's going to be 2022, right? Obviously,
yeah.
You can't get it done in a month. By the time so something exciting, like 2022 needs to be a good caching year. We've had a couple of slump years just in general life. It's time to have some fun again. So we're hoping this will really kick things off and we get to have a lot of good fun with this. Obviously, keep it clean, people. And path tags will let you do some stuff that's pretty risque. We're not going to do risque.
We're not doing that. No.
Although I have seen some path tags that I thought, I can't believe that is out there.
Yeah. And if you would help us out, go to pathtags.com and download the blank path tag. There's a place on there you can grab that. Yeah. Put your artwork within that. It'd just be easier for us to get the process going
to make it
fit. If you can, go ahead and do that. I mean, if you don't have to, it can work. It can win without that, but it then has to be turned around and done anyway. So it would help out us, and it also helps the patrons when they see all the artwork. Right. They're gonna go, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That would be a good one. Versus if you just drew it on a napkin, they're gonna be like, I can't quite get the concept of what you're wanting to do here.
And I would obviously the other things I would say is don't use trademark stuff because we can't use that. Like, don't send in a picture of Snoopy because that's not going to work, right?
Yeah, I think
they can't put out a bunch of trademark stuff. Come up with some good original designs, and
some people
we get going with that.
Yeah. Some people have done that. I've seen.
I've seen
not Disney. No. We're not going to do it. No, I'm saying I've seen it, but
there's some stuff that I would call R-rated out there that we won't do also. But that's fine for a personal thing. But obviously with the kid friendliness of this one, we're going to keep it clean and no trademark stuff. And
right.
But it still should be a lot of fun. Send in your designs. Is there a deadline for this, Gary?
The deadline is the start of Podcast to Hope, December 5th. So between now and
it's only a month. 5th, that's
only a month.
That's quick.
You got to get on it. We're not going to dilly dally. So you have to submit it before we go live on December 5th at 4 p.m. So that's the deadline for that.
I'm excited to see because cachers are so creative. Not only with breaking the rules, like we'll talk about later, but they're so creative when it comes to everything else. I bet we see some really, really neat things here.
Yeah. And I thought it was also kind of cool, again, to include the patrons since they basically run the show or keep the show running is what I'm trying to say. That they're the ones that'll get to select it. So I think that's kind of cool.
Absolutely,
they'll do a great job. Last note, and we'll get started. Nels, you are correct. It wasn't Bodie McBothface. It's Fairy McFairyface.
Oh. I don't know. I'm liking the Cashy McCashface again. I'm thinking that might have to be it.
So Fairy McFairyface is what I think was the winner last year. The Australian government announced the results of competition to pick the names of 6 new fairies. And but yeah, it comes from it's the same kind of idea of the Bodie McBothface type thing. So anyway, which is the last side note of that, which is that there is a really cool cache in Australia that's related to the fairies. And it's you have to work at it because you don't know which ones you're going to get, but you have to eventually get the right ones to finish the multi, which it's got a lot of favorite points. So, if you're in Sydney, that's a really cool cache to go find. So, all right, let's get cranking up with, that was a long news segment, but that's okay.
There's a lot of news though. That's
a lot of news, a lot of good stuff happening. A lot of cool stuff happening. And so give us, be a sponsor.
2021 is almost over. So for the caching year, we have to wrap up all the projects for the year, right? So there's lots of news and lots of things going on.
Absolutely. So looking forward to the things coming up. But all right, so I got some notes in there, and I thought yours was kind of interesting. You kind of got it. You put it at the bottom, and I moved it to the top because I think it was important to start with. And I think you see where I was going with it. Is that I didn't want to get into the suggested attributes which came from the network, which we'll talk about, but yours was I love the way the bigger question, which is, do we even care? Do we look at them?
So there's many things. We're talking about attributes, right? And the discussion came up, and we asked for answers to it of are there attributes that we need? Are there ones we currently need? So me being me, obviously my follow-up questions are, do we really need any of the attributes? Do people actually even use them? Should they use them? So breaking that down to many different things, let's take that one question at a time, right? Why don't people use attributes, or do you think people use attributes correctly most of the time?
Terraviator says, he cares and he looks at them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how.
Let me back this up, because you're gonna lie if I don't. You're just gonna fudge it if I don't.
No.
How often do you look at the attributes on a cache?
Here's what I do, and tell me if this is something that you do or if this is just me. Because
we all know we don't even read the description sometimes.
Right, the description's bad.
We know we're lying if we say we look at the attributes every single time.
I'll be honest, I'm better at it after that day. From that day forward, I've been better about reading descriptions because of that very thing that we wandered around for 30 minutes. And then the CFO said, "Hey, did y'all read the description?" Like, oh crap, we didn't read the description. But here's what I do. First thing I do, I look at the terrain and difficulty.
Okay.
So I look.
Let me wait before you go any further. Let me throw parameters on this, because everybody's jumping in talking about kayak and tree climbing. Obviously, on a high terrain cache, you're going to do a lot more research. Right. Let me say that this is under a 2-2 in town, and it's a traditional.
No, I don't look at it.
What are the odds that you're going to look at the attributes?
0.
Probably 0 unless you don't find it. Then you'll start looking at more stuff.
Then I'll expand.
Well, having said that, people are going to go, well, that's just that type. That is most of the caches.
Probably.
Most caches we have out there are traditional, and they're under 2-2.
Yeah.
For like 1 billion of them right now.
Yeah.
So having said that, everybody in here can either do what they want or not, tell the truth or not. But if it's a less than 2-2, it's in the city, and it's just a traditional, I rarely even look at anything. I just jump out and bam. If it's not a special cache.
Right.
If it's a 4 terrain, I am absolutely looking at every attribute that's on there.
Exactly.
So, having said that, I don't either. Neither one of us do. I know, because we've cached together.
No, we're not going to look. But
having said that, okay, go ahead. I'll let you go.
No, that's to say that they do become important on certain caches, and I think that's
yes.
So I guess our nonchalant attitude toward attributes for the early caches does not mean that I'm not looking at them later, because I think they are important later on.
We'll get into that. So now, having said that, when you do look at them, do you feel on average people even use them or use them correctly? Ooh. If you're just looking at, the last 30 caches you looked at,
right?
If you were to pull them up right now, one, how many of them would have any attributes?
Right.
And then past that, how many of them would use them correctly or even do more than 1 or 2 at a time? And now I'm talking about an average cache. Now, I'm taking out a few things here. Tree climb, scuba, and handicap accessible. Right. Those are all very important. So I'm taking those out of this talk, right? Because we've talked at length about how those are important when you're talking about somebody's physical capabilities and safety and stuff like that. Taking those out, because there's tons of other ones, dog-friendly, restroom nearby, which, come on. But anyway, there's always a restroom nearby for us. But
right.
Having said that, how often what do you think the percentage is? We got out of 100 caches.
Yeah.
And let's take out, like a 1 terrain. So, 1.5 to 2.5, whatever, like that. Right. So we're not talking about the handicap attribute. One, how often do you think, how many of those do you think have enough appropriately labeled attributes?
Maybe 15 out of 100?
I'd say maybe 15 out of 100, yeah.
That seem about accurate?
No, I think you're about right. Yes. Now, I think the next 15% will probably have some attributes, but not all the applicable ones.
No.
And then maybe the next 70 will have either 0 or 1.
Right.
And I'm not even including the next category of it.
Or inappropriate.
There you go. Intentionally inappropriate.
Oh,
so
I hate those.
There's a lot of puzzles out there that part of the puzzle is the attribute section.
That's okay.
They base that on there. Is that okay?
It is for that puzzle. If, like, I did one, and I always mention this one because I thought it was fascinating, which was, it was an attribute one, but the name of the geocache was attributes. I mean, that with an exclamation, that was the name of the cache. So, and it said it was a puzzle. So you're like, duh, I'm looking at the attributes.
The rules are kind of out the window on a puzzle, I think.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly okay with that. I assume everything on there could be part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But what about the ET Power Trail? Those are all scuba caches.
I don't like that. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know why.
The only reason I think it becomes a problem outside of safety is when people get super particular about their statistics, like they're trying to loop through all the attributes for challenges and stuff like that. But then it becomes just an honesty question, right? Just like Fizzy. We know most of the Fizzy loops out there are BS.
Right.
Right. When you have a whole Fizzy loop in one area, it could be legit, or it could just be people running up numbers.
Right.
So attributes are the same way. It's kind of when it comes to that. You have to do it to the level that you're comfortable with. You enjoy it or you don't enjoy it, right?
I personally, for me personally, the attributes I put on it are legit. So if it has the does not tree climb on it, I'm not trying to fool you.
Yeah.
It means don't climb a tree because that particular one is not a tree climb. Or if it says that it's less than 1K, there's that 1K.
Less than 1K hike. Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's what it is. It really is. It's not trying to fool you and go, I gave you an attribute, but
is it okay if somebody wants to do that? To do a red herring in there? Like they put no tree climb and it's a water cache. You know what I mean? Okay. Like if they want to play around with it, or they put tree climb on there, but it's actually out in the middle of the water to throw you off.
Right. Then you're thinking, well,
because there's red herrings in caches all the time, right? Where they can throw you off, or you go down a rabbit hole, the wrong rabbit hole, just to enhance the difficulty of that cache.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like everything else. It's subjective, right?
It is, but some of them are very important.
100% agree with that.
I'll get into those in a second. One Janice mentions, I do use it for available in winter, especially for those that live at a certain, latitude up.
That does make a difference.
Things, right.
Available in winter does make a difference. Now,
parking
what does available in winter mean?
So
I've got a shovel, so it's always available in winter for me.
That's true, unless it's frozen solid. But then there's tools.
Terraviator says parking fee. That's good knowledge. And keep in mind that I'm not saying that we shouldn't use attributes. I'm saying we should use them.
Yeah,
I'm saying more people should use them more often. And if you're gonna intentionally misuse them, some of them doesn't matter. Like flashlight not required when you need a flashlight. Okay, nobody cares. You're probably gonna live. Yeah. If you're not doing the safety ones, go to your heart's content. Scuba cache and it's in the desert. Okay, that's funny. That may just be a funny thing, right?
But yeah.
However, and really honestly, outside of the handicap accessible, the rest of them are kind of what they are, kid friendly or whatever, but they're extremely useful. If the attributes, use them for what they are, they're extremely useful.
Very much so. And I was going to I'm pulling up the list now to look at. There's some that are, let me find the one I was thinking of, and I want to make sure I get it accurate. And that is let me find it. Go ahead.
While you're pulling that up, here's my final question.
Yes.
Should reviewers check to see if they're legit?
Oh, that is difficult.
And now, keep in mind when I'm saying this, we have reviewers that listen to this. I'm asking the question for the purpose of discussion, not trying to put any more work on their plate because they already do too much. I just, as I always say, they do not get paid enough for what they do to keep this game going for us.
No, you're right.
Having said that, would it be better if they were able to? Obviously, they can't physically go out there and check that, right? But if that was one of the things that people had to certify that these are either true or not true.
Yeah, I mean, it probably makes for a good question, or should be a question that the reviewer should probably review it with the cache owner and go, do you really want that on there? Or do you really want, is this something that's accurate, or is this something that you're just throwing out there because you're trying to do some sort of loop of the attributes or something, or complete it, whatever it is. It's good if they ask. I know Jessica's saying not their job, but they have to review and they have to.
Well, it is their job.
So
they just don't choose to do. We don't currently choose to use that as one of the things, right? Because people can lie about all that.
Yeah.
The cache page publishing, that's all kind of under their purview, right? They could absolutely tell you to take something off if they wanted to.
Right. Yeah. So just finding a way, a reviewer said they used the scuba required because before the power trail attribute came out.
No, yeah, absolutely. I understand that. I'm not saying there's a rule currently, or should be a rule currently, saying that one of them had to be correct.
Yeah,
that's what I'm asking. Should they be correct?
Well, here are the ones that I think can be fairly important when you're into that on the question you're asking, which is hazards, especially the hazard of hunting area.
Yes, that is important. Absolutely.
Which very important because you need to be wearing orange. You need to be, the hunter orange during periods of time. And a lot of times cache owners, I've noticed, are pretty good about most cache owners are pretty good about saying, hey, there's usually hunting in this area between this date and this date.
Yeah.
So you need to be wearing your orange. You need to be prepared. Some of these poisonous plants. Okay. I mean, yes,
obviously there could be safety with all that. You should still be safe when you go to an area, no matter what the attributes say.
But if it says abandoned mine, yeah, you need to be real careful. Or climbing cliffs, falling rocks. Those are important. Those are life or death. It is a dangerous area. If it says that, I mean, if it says thorns, okay, you're not gonna, or you're not gonna die from thorns, probably.
Well, and Chronically Tired Mom says they would be mad if they put fake attributes and then I couldn't do the cache. Well, that's why liars caches and all that are frowned upon, and there's a lot of other things that are frowned upon and stuff like that because it is going to stop some people from being able to get to a cache, right?
Right.
But then there's the whole thing. Should that be something that's locked in?
Yeah, Jaspery has a good point. I think always use attributes as if newbies are coming out to find these caches. It's 0% helpful to publish without attributes or omit important attributes.
I would agree. And it gets into that whole thing that we've talked about before. Like when you publish a cache, should the general things like that be locked so that people can't change them without, talking to the reviewer first? It's a whole different discussion, right? We've talked about that before.
Yeah,
because people do things and they change caches afterwards, and
yeah,
a lot of people play this game based on stats, and it messes people's stats up and everything else. It's like you can change the name of a cache and all that. That's something we can talk about on another show. But attributes falls into that too, right? Changing things after publish changes it for people.
Yes, and I just put in the chat room. I'll put up the banner too about that's the best page to go if you want to go see all of them in one spot. That's a great little page. It's on geocaching.com /about/icons.aspx. So survival
just as helpful as saying no hint needed in the hint.
Yeah, that's great.
That's funny.
Or to encrypt no hit needed in a different rot and then put it back in there so when you rot it, it doesn't come out.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And you're like, why is that? It's not coming out correctly. Oh, it's a clue. It's a clue. And then you take it and you put it into another thing and it says no hint needed. You're like, great. Thanks a lot.
We also have to remember it's supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah, it is supposed to be fun.
But so attributes, if used correctly, are extremely helpful.
Yeah.
However, because it's not a rule and not an enforced rule that they always have to be 100% correct, they are a playable part of the game.
They are. I understand. I would not want, if it says that it's available 24/7, this one I've seen very often. I've seen this one quite often as I'm going through. I'm trying to finish my book, shameless plug. I'm trying to get the book done before Black Friday so I can get it's close. I just finished South Dakota. Shout out to everybody in South Dakota. I just finished that chapter. A lot of cool caches in a lot of states, but one thing I noticed, because I read through all the caches and I read through the note, I'll read through all the logs, the electronic logs. And one thing that comes up quite periodically as I'm going through the different states is that people get real irate if you don't use that attribute correctly or not correct, or if you don't use it correctly. So if you don't add it when it is 24/7, not as big of a deal, but the people that get really mad are the ones obviously that
when you add it and it's not 24/7.
You add it and it's not 24/7.
Well, I can understand why. They show up and then they're in trouble.
Right. But you were saying earlier, it's just part of the game that you don't have to follow. It's not that important to the attributes are.
Well, here's what I would say with that. Attributes are a good idea, but especially if you know you have certain limitations, you're going to have to do your own research on caches because, one, it's not a reviewed area. So you don't know that they're correct or even correct at the time.
True.
You know what I mean? It could say tree climb and the tree got cut down. Or, it could say restrooms nearby and they're all closed. Well, you're not going to go and change it every 5 seconds. So attributes are a guideline, but I wouldn't bet my life on one. Right. I would look at them and then I would do the research from there because I know for a fact that it's not a heavily regulated part of the game.
Yeah.
When used right, extremely helpful. And it's a great guide of generally starting to figure it out. But I would still want to go check a map if I knew there was going to be a chance of anything. Do all those other things. Do my research on it. I'm not gonna bet my health and safety on it.
No, I agree with you. KC11 had a good point. After publication, attributes can always change for various reasons beyond the hider's control. A guide example: picnic tables nearby might be removed by park.
But the more important part of his comment is the next one. There you go.
Yeah, should be under cache maintenance. No, and really, in a sense, that is very true. If something has changed, change the description of the cache. Mm-hmm. Don't change that. Don't change the DT. If you really have to change the DT, we recommend at GTN that you archive it, put out a new cache.
And obviously, there's some weird things about that with ice and everything else, right? Freezing over ponds and stuff. But it is your job as a cache owner to keep those things accurate, as accurate as you can, right? And it can change. It could be dangerous plants, and then they could go in and totally re-landscape that area, and your cache is still there and there's no dangerous plants anymore.
Right.
So you can change those things, and they're not locked, so you can change. You can change a lot of stuff after a cache is published, which is quite scary because it can look completely different after a reviewer publishes it.
Correct.
You can basically change everything except for the location, which you can actually kind of change the location if you do a little bit at a time.
You can do it. Wow.
But we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into ways to cheat.
But if you make a mistake and you try to fix it, they might catch you by going, "Hey, you just changed the coordinates 12 times. I don't think you were."
They might catch it. Jessica said, "I found one with a tick attribute and did not see one tick. I was ticked."
I was ticked. Well, there you go. See, she's
right.
Exactly
I mean, so
right.
Again, having said that, attributes can be very valuable, but they're a guideline.
They are,
right?
And some,
yeah,
some are more. Some are more. We almost need somebody to go through all the attributes and figure out severity, like, abandoned mine is a more severe location than scenic view. I did not think this. I am ticked now. This was not a scenic view. Well, it used to be, but
Well, and that's the thing, right? So until they start saying that reviewers are going to check them and they have to be accurate, I personally think in general they're a guideline, but they're open to do whatever you want to do with them. There can be puzzles. There's funny stuff. I used to do, and I don't think you can anymore, but I used to put the teamwork attribute on every one of my events because I thought it was funny. It's teamwork, right? I mean, it kind of fits.
Yeah. That's funny.
But I think that's locked out of there now, so I don't think you can do that anymore. But or tree climb or anything else on events. There's a lot of things you can't do on events now. I forget what you can do. Right. But the point being, guideline, but know that it's also a play toy as well.
It is. Ryan mentioned about the abandoned mine. Very, very valuable attribute. So, all right, let's get into good stuff. Do you want to get into the entries?
I got one more that I want to say real quick, though. That's very important. Private residence. That one should always be accurate.
Yes.
That one should, what is it called? Is it private residence still, or is it front yard?
They changed it. It now reads.
Let's see.
It reads differently now. It reads
yard, quote, and then in parentheses, private residence.
Right. There you go.
So that one should always be accurate. There's so many reasons for that to be accurate. People obviously should understand that one, though.
Absolutely. Because that's, well, some people really hate doing a yard cache, especially if they get there and like, oh, this is in somebody's yard. I don't want to do this. Why are we here? Whereas other people are like, well, you and I've talked about that. We did a yard cache together, and we were like, we both say the same thing. It's like, I always feel a little weird about doing these. I
always do. It's always weird, right?
I always feel a little awkward.
We mentioned it before, but if you're going to do a private residence, put the address in the description.
Right.
Because people's stuff floats. GPS floats, right? 30 feet off could be the next house over.
Right. And you don't want that. You don't want to be making the people next door mad. So the important cactus attribute. That's funny. All right. Let's get into the list. What do you think? All right.
Yes.
Okay. We got some oddballs in here, which is okay because this is the discussion we're going to have. So, and some of these Pizza Ninja threw in, and so he's not here really to defend himself. So I'll try my best.
I think I can defend every one of these, although I have my favorites.
Okay.
And we'll see what people listening live, let's see what they think as well, right?
We have several, and we're going to pick 3 at the end of the show, just to let you know where we're going with this. We've got...
And by the way, HQ is going to immediately switch those on after we pick them.
Oh,
right
I
after the show's over.
That's a bean spill, I guess, is that HQ told us to pick 3, so we're going to pick 3.
Absolutely.
And those are the 3 they'll no
matter what we pick, they're going to do it.
Oh, no. Gary just spilled the beans.
And if HQ ran their business that way, they'd be done in a year.
Trouble.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's
Pizza
get
Ninja,
started.
thanks for defending my picks. Well, we'll see.
Oh, Pizza Ninja is here. What are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah, he's here, but he's not on to. So the first one came from Pizza Ninja. It's funny I'm calling him out on this, but it's called Hearing Required. So you'd have to have a little ear or something.
So an
Hearing
audio
required.
cache.
Yes. And I see where he's going with this, and there's some others that you'll see why he's going the way that he went. But if somebody is hearing impaired, and we've had people on the show
Absolutely.
recently who are visually impaired, wheelchair, they need the wheelchair accessible attribute to be correct, so forth. Hearing impaired comes into play as well because just for that very reason that they're caching and they need to,
Is armchair log or couch log? I was actually going to put that on the list and I didn't.
Yeah.
Armchair cache.
Armchair cache. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But so I kind of like this one. I don't know if it's really needed, but
so I think the idea behind it is excellent.
We're throwing it out there. Right.
I would lump that into the handicap accessible with an explanation.
Okay.
Because handicap, that universal sign of handicap does not only mean ambulatory.
Correct.
It can mean many things, right? So I think I think that one could be used in the other one for the low frequency of when that would be applicable. I think the idea behind it is excellent.
I do.
And now, if we just had unlimited attributes, absolutely. Because I think that's when attributes really matter when you're talking about somebody's accessibility or safety to a cache.
Right.
Most of them are fluff, right? Scenic view. Well, you don't have to put that on there. You'll know it when you get there. Who cares? You don't need a warning for, oh my God, there's gonna be a pretty view. Be careful. You do need a warning for these other things. So having said that, I like that one, but I think you could be a subdivision of handicap accessible.
True. But I like that idea, which gets into the next one.
And why do people keep talking about pizza? You're just trying to make me hungry? Is that what's going on?
They're trying. Yeah, they're definitely, because we mentioned Pizza Ninja, so that's how that all came about. So yeah. Okay. Next one, color vision required.
So I absolutely see the need for this one.
Right.
I see it as more frequent than hearing required. Because there's not as many auditory caches. There are some. I found some that like you have to play the song, the gadget to get in.
Yeah.
But that doesn't apply to most of them. I found very few of those.
Sure.
Color vision, I would say that's been more applicable even on the computer.
Correct.
Not just in the field, right? So I would say that one would be more frequently used. And again, when we're talking about safety or accessibility, I think it's always important because the game should be open and available to everybody. Not everybody can find every cache. Correct. I'm not going scuba diving. I tried. It's not my thing. Right. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. But
correct.
You should tell me before I go out there and find out it's at the bottom of the ocean. I should know that before I go on that cache, right?
Right. Well, and that was our discussion too this week with the network was what you brought up, the very thing that, hey, this cache may not be for you, and everybody gets all huffy about it because they're like, why they all should. I should be able to find all of them. Well,
yeah, not really.
May not be for you.
So Tom asked, and he asked a good question. Yeah. Why can't all of this be in the description? We just learned to read the description. Don't be ridiculous, Tom. We're not reading the description.
Yeah, people are not reading the descriptions. What are you talking about?
That's come on. Don't be logical. We're trying to have fun here.
Owen said the attributes are printed in black and white, so that's kind of funny. Well, that's the whole point.
Yeah, they are.
Attributes in black and white, so that the color vision people that they'll know that they're going to need color vision later, not just for that attribute. See, so we're warning people ahead of time. Okay. I think those are the two. Let's see. Let me do. Okay. Let me do the next.
Because it was asked, Jessica asked, what percentage of people are colorblind? So I believe there's a spectrum of colorblindness. It's not an all or nothing deal.
That's true.
But just a quick Google search says it is a common problem that affects around 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women. Colorblindness, some level of colorblindness. So that's pretty frequent.
It is.
That's fair. If that's 7 to 7 or 8% of people, that's a pretty big number. And now I know hearing is also another large percentage. However, having said both of those things, the number of caches that require that is pretty small.
It is.
So that's why I would say these are important, but I don't know if they'll be the most important ones or not.
Right. Bill on the Move tells us he is color capable. That's good.
There you go.
It's good to know. And you can hear, hopefully, too, which is always important. But do they make it into the top 3? We'll find out, because we got some others. So another one that's kind of out there, and I moved it up the list. We had a long discussion about this within the group. In fact, I cut the discussion off. It's like, all right, enough about this. Let's move on, because I need to get more. I need more possibilities for the show, because we spent a lot of time on this next attribute, which is
clothing optional, or clothing not required, or no clothing required.
That's important. But
it's really clothing optional is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the correct term. Clothing optional.
You're
not required to be naked. You have the option of being naked.
Right.
And yes, I have found one of these caches.
Yes, you have. And Josh has found one.
Yep. By the way, extremely creepy, but that's a different story.
Yes, that's for another show.
So again, I don't see this as an attribute. I see this as a description. Yeah, that's for another show.
That's for another show.
I see this as a description in the cache, because there's not that many of them out there. There's maybe 50 out of millions of caches.
But if you had the icon,
what about when it's misused?
That's what I was about to say. Is
so people show up to an LBC at Walmart. Well, that may not be a good example, because you might just see that anyway.
Would that be the most misused attribute? That would become the most misused attribute.
I need to talk to our research department now. Just for a second. We got to do a side, because you made me think about this. Research department being the live audience right now, or even anybody in the, that listens later.
Right.
I need to know if there's ever been a clothing optional geocaching event. I know there's clothing optional caches.
Right.
But has there ever been an event at a clothing optional location? I need to know. Somebody's got to do we got to have some research people in here. We need to know that. And if not, when is it going to be?
I thought Charles said that they went to a clothing optional
event or cache. I absolutely believe that Charles would do that. There's no doubt in my mind.
Or he'd wear his mankini. I know that. So,
well, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
So, okay. That is a very fun and funny attribute.
It is, but
the frequency of use would be so small.
Right.
It would just be I don't see that making the top.
It doesn't. Even though there was a big push in the network, they're like, look, this would be important, because there are several caches out there that's like, oh, okay, no, that's not. All right. We're getting to a more serious one. The first two were more serious, but different. All right. This one, I think, well, I'm not gonna jinx it, or I'm not gonna give my opinion yet. And that is, we need to have a travel bug hotel attribute.
You just said you're not going to give your opinion, but you said we need to have it.
Well, I'm saying that's the next one on the list. I'm sorry.
Well, I know your opinion then already.
All these are need to have, because they're on the list. We need to pick 3.
Okay.
The next one on the list is,
I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a minute.
Travel bug hotel.
What would qualify as that?
Right. I follow you. I follow what
I'm asking you a question.
What would...
That's your question to answer. What would make that an appropriate attribute?
I think that sort of like they do with gadgets now, I think it's important that Travel Bug Hotel is in the name of the cache.
So then why do you need an attribute?
Well, it's nice to have that because then you could search for. See, that's the thing. We can't forget that there are options to search for particular attributes. And I know people that do this.
There's options to search for names too in the title.
Yeah, there are. I agree.
But that's not even the important part. When does a cache become a Travel Bug Hotel?
I see where you're going with this.
So extremely subjective, right?
It is.
We know we've been to those Travel Bug Hotels that are like ghetto pieces of Tupperware, slightly big enough to hold 2 trackables in it. And they call it a TV hotel, and you're like, stop it. That is not what a TV hotel is. That's not even a TV roach motel. That's terrible. That's like TV homeless camp. It's not something. I don't know. I don't know how you would define it is the problem.
Yeah. I mean, Tom says when you put the Travel Bug Hotel in the title, it becomes a Travel Bug Hotel.
Again, then we don't need the attribute.
Yeah. And
so what would you put? Okay, then we're discussing this, right? Yeah. What would you put as the restrictions on what would you allow a micro to be used with that attribute?
It's a good question because are there any restrictions currently?
TV hotel is not an official thing. There's no restrictions for it.
No,
just
I
like
know,
FTF.
I know, but I'm saying is, well, then couldn't it go into the grouping like all the other ones? I don't think that you don't have to put a restriction on it because none of the other attributes have restrictions. Do you see what I'm saying? There's no need.
The other attributes do have some restrictions.
Are there? I'm trying to think.
You can't use some of them with events. There's some things you can't do.
That's true. Wheelchair
there are
accessible
some restrictions
too.
on there.
It has to be a terrain 1, otherwise they won't let you put the wheelchair accessible.
Right. And events, you can't affect the difficulty of an event, but that's difficulty in terrain. That's not attributes. But
I don't think
there are some restrictions in there. But having said all that, and I'm just playing devil's advocate with that, this is the first one that I would say would be the most important so far.
Yeah.
Because it's so commonly used and you would like to be able to filter by attributes, right? I love TV hotels because I like finding travel bugs out in the wild.
Sure.
However,
there's some great ones.
There should be some, there's good caches and bad caches. There are going to be good hotels and bad hotels. Yeah. I would love to see this one as an actual attribute.
I do.
I think it would be extremely subjective, and I would love to see somebody have some guidelines on what a TV hotel should actually be.
That'd be cool.
However, since there's not one,
right,
it should be used however you want to use it. But so I think this actually would be right now. I would say this is our number one based on the potential of use and the frequency of use. Right. There's a lot more TV hotels than there are ones that require auditory differentiation when you're at them. So
absolutely, it also comes in really important if you're traveling and you're like, oh my gosh, quick, do a search of caches in the next town and see if any of them have attribute Travel Bug Hotel, because there's a good chance that it's accurate. There's a chance that it's accurate, and then you could, because you've got a trackable. You forgot that you need to drop it in Mississippi, and you're about to leave the state. You want to, I need to leave it. I need to leave it here. So, quick, try to find a Travel Bug Hotel, and so that could be of help. Yeah. So,
and we could talk about travel bugs and travel bug hotel. Well, we did. We talked about it recently, but we could talk about travel bug hotels for 20 hours, easy.
Yeah. Okay.
But just because of that, I think that is probably the number one attribute we've come up with so far because of frequency of ability to use it.
Correct.
I think everyone we talked about, so not clothing required. That's silly, in my opinion. But the other ones, those are legitimate, 100% legitimate. I just don't know how frequently they would be used.
Correct. Let me throw another one at you.
Okay.
Overnight required, as in long outdoor excursions to caches that are in the middle of nowhere, and they really suggest overnight required.
So I think this would be used more than some of the other ones, but I think this is, so where this is used, I think it's extremely important. So depending on where you are, if you live in New York City, this is not a thing.
Right.
If you live in Montana, California, Colorado, Wyoming, any of the states, wide open states like that, this can become a very important one. And there's some places that you have to backpack into. You can't get there in one day and back out in one day.
Correct.
When that is a thing, I mean, it's many, many miles. And yes, there's the over 10K hike, but there's some that you're going to have to drive into, boat into, whatever else, that are way farther than 6.2 miles, right?
Correct.
So I think when used, when it's appropriate, this can be a very important one. Now, that's not mine. I don't know who suggested that one, but
that was Jeff.
Okay. Well, Canada, there's a good example too, right? There's some really backwoods caching that requires a lot more safety planning. So some people will say, I've never seen that. I've never seen one that be applicable to that. I have. I definitely have. And I think where you can use it, that's a whole different style of caching. That's way more important than like, oh no, I don't have my UV flashlight in the Walmart parking lot. That's not the same level of oh no, right?
Yeah, and Direwolf saying that attribute like that would probably only apply 1% of the time. Well, take a look at the current.
Depends on where you are.
It does, but also think about this. Current attributes, several of them apply 1% of the time as well, but that doesn't necessarily illegitimize it. They're still legitimate attributes, even though partnership cache. I mean, how often? I mean, they're rare, but it's an important attribute to have. So,
and again,
this would be,
if you live in the city, you'll probably never see that one. If you live in other parts of the world where there is access to the outback and things like that, that may be an extremely important one. So lower frequency, but extremely important when it is, right?
Correct.
That's more of a safety issue than an accessibility issue, which safety trumps accessibility. We want it to be accessible to everybody, but we want everybody to really be safe where they can.
Right. All right. Next one, because we got to vote here in a few minutes. Internet required on site. So they're letting you know that yes, you can find this cache, and yes.
So let's combine this and the next one. Go ahead and read the next one too.
Okay. Next one was no cell internet reception.
Yeah. So I think it's important. So what we're talking about is services, right? Like you see the no services for 50 miles on the highway or whatever. Right. I think that's what you're really looking at with this attribute. If you combine those two, like,
yes.
Do you have access to services out there? There's some locations until Elon's done getting internet around the whole world. There's some locations where you're not going to have cell service or internet service. I think that's an important attribute or thing to know before you go there, right? Not just that you might need it for the cache. So we can apply in several things, right? Like you have to have some kind of, because people use, I don't know why, but some people still use GPSs, right? I know it's a thing. It's a weird thing. But if you get there and you have to have internet to solve whatever it is, you should tell people ahead of time.
I have a GPS built into my phone.
I know, but they make some that don't even have phones on them.
Well,
I know. I don't get it either.
Wouldn't you want a multitasker? I'd want a multitasker.
That's what I'm saying. Me too. But again,
for another show.
Okay.
This would fall
I think that's a good, right? If you know there's not going to be any cell service there, like let's say it's really truly somewhere out away from the city.
Right.
That's kind of a safety issue. If you have no landlines or no safety lines when you're out there, that would be a good attribute to have out,
I completely agree.
Yeah. No cell attribute would be a good hazard attribute. Absolutely. Because we consider that safety nowadays, right?
It is.
People consider that part of safety. So having that attribute that just showed like cell signal or Wi-Fi service, and then you could explain past that would be important, right? Yes or no. Because people expect to have cell service generally most places they go nowadays.
Yeah, I agree.
I think out of all of them we've come to so far, that one, the services thing, the hazard/services, is probably the most applicable for safety purposes.
I agree. It helps to know that you need to offline, because that's what we would do. if we came up to a cache, and this is important for if you're doing like a whole state, like if you're doing a state run, where are you going to, what was KC11?
He said, Ken, just as a safety deal, he says, can you use your phone to get ground elevation if you need GPS? You can use your phone.
Yeah.
You can use your phone for just about anything nowadays. GPS is basically worthless. People can argue all day long that they're more accurate. Whatever. We're not going to get into that now, but the phone does it. I know they say batteries and everything else, blah, blah, blah. We don't get into that. That's a different show.
Yeah. Yeah. Smartphones with GPS, they can triangulate
altitude. Yes.
Altitude. So, yeah.
So I think probably our number one so far would be this services. I don't know what you would call that. Internet service, cell service, whatever is needed, or there is not one, or there is or isn't one on site.
Yeah. I mean, that's
breaking
important.
It out separately. Telling them it's needed, I think, is less important than telling them they are not going to have it there.
Correct.
Because the worst comes to happen if it's needed and you don't have it is you can't find it. Worst comes to happen if there's no cell service and you need it is you're dead. So the level is completely different. Sarah, I believe it's a preference only. I'm just poking fun at the GPS people. People can do cache however they want to.
Yeah,
I'm just poking fun because people get so crazy about it. So
they get so
before anybody thinks I'm anti-GPS, I don't care. It's fun to poke fun at people that get all particular about how they cache.
Oh, it's a trigger thing. Yeah. Your phone can't do what my GPS can do. Okay, all right. Whatever. But yeah, it's more poking fun. It's funny. So, all right. Yeah. Next one. And I'm not sure where this one was going, unless was a category. What was the hazard? There's already hazard, aren't there?
There's a hazard category, and there's several different hazards. That's where like thorns and stuff are, poisonous plants.
Yeah, there's a whole hazard.
I guess a general hazard, because you can't get every hazard on there, right? I think this could be a good one.
Yeah.
So like, here's a hazard. Homeless camp. That's a hazard, right? If there's homeless camps nearby, but you're not going to have an attribute just for homeless camps. Dogs in the neighborhood that are loud or whatever. That's a hazard, but you're not going to have an attribute for everything. So a general attribute that says hazard, like something dangerous in the area, could be a good one.
I see your point. Yeah.
I don't know if that's what was originally intended by that one, but I think that it's
all-encompassing hazard one.
Yeah, just kind of like a catch-all, like unknowns are, whatever else. A hazard, and then explain it. Like it's frequently like you're doing a light pole on a corner somewhere, and that's where prostitutes operate. Probably not a good place to hide a cache, but if you decide to hide a cache there, just know that there's illegal activity in the area or whatever.
Yeah.
There could be. There's a danger of speeding cars or crashes there frequently.
Sure.
You can't have an attribute for everything.
Right. And
barbed wire, that's a good one. I've definitely cut myself on some barbed wire before.
There you go. Tom's going to harp on this all night long, by the way. I don't know if you noticed this. Reading the description required.
Come on. Again,
Thanks,
Tom, you're being silly. Who's going to read the description?
Come on, Tom.
That's for beginners. Experienced people don't read the description.
There you go. Logs make for good attribute searching. We agree. You're exactly right, Jessica.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And again, all joking aside, if you're going out to something that's not a 1-1 in the city, the farther away it gets from being a 1-1 in the city, the more you should research that cache page.
Right.
Right. Like we're being flippant a little bit about some of the description and everything else, but the reality is, like, if you're doing a 5-5, you should pay a lot more attention to a lot more planning than if you're doing a 1-1 at a bus stop. The safety level there and your ability to do that safely is completely different.
Right.
You have more of an investment if you're doing a higher terrain, higher difficulty cache than you're going to have when you're hitting a power trail of 1-1s at every 528 feet on a fence post.
Correct.
You're probably not going to read every description in that power trail.
No.
However, if you're going out for a single hiking cache or scuba tree climb cache, you should probably read up everything you could and check maps and look at descriptions of logs and past stuff like that. So having that big spectrum, use obviously common sense when you're talking about your safety, especially if you're going either by yourself or you're bringing kids with you.
Correct. Oh, absolutely.
Be super careful. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Last said, if you're in a foreign country, you better read everything. Absolutely.
Yeah, he better. That's
an unsafe environment if you mess that one up.
Exactly. He wants to know about your scuba tree climb. If you're underwater and there's trees that were there,
that's right,
prior to them flooding that area, because I've seen that.
Yeah.
And if
you want to come to Colorado, I have a cache like that.
There you go.
Or I'm sorry, I'm on a team that has a cache like that.
Right. Is it a 5.5?
It's a multi, and it's a 5.5.
Okay.
Guess what? You get to do both things.
Oh, you do scuba and tree climb.
Yes, you do. Not at the same stage, but you do get to do both things.
Okay. That'd be cool.
So it can absolutely be part of the same cache.
Cool. Owen brings up, that's interesting.
That's funny.
Thorns have to be used for barbed wire. Okay. Yeah, it's creative. Sort of like
you know what it makes you think, and you look at it. If you look at it, you can go, "Oh, hey,
yeah,
I like that. That's pretty funny."
I like that. I have seen where barbed wire is you're not crossing a fence, but there's like around the cache there was some barbed wire that was left, and so you have to be careful walking to and from that cache. So that's it kind of falls in that thorn or hazard.
Yeah, or when you're sneaking onto somebody's property without permission, you got to hop that barbed wire. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to know. It'd be nice to know, you're going to,
All right, let's get to our last one because we want to give people time to vote on the top three. Vote.
Last one is batteries required.
And I think this is probably more frequent as people are now, obviously, there's this one show out there that talks all about gadgets. Talks about gadgets. I don't know the name of it. Anyway, but one of the they had a whole episode about batteries, right? And one of the smart things to do when you're getting gadgets, when you're putting gadgets out there, is have people bring their own batteries or find a solid source of batteries, right? Well, you see a lot of gadget caches now. People bring their own batteries. They put it in there, and then it does the gadget, right? Well, correct. One of the worst things ever is, no matter how often the owners go out there and put batteries, they disappear, just like swag. Right. So if it's a bring your battery cache, to me, I like this one a lot because as these increase in frequency or there's more of these. Correct. To me, not a safety issue. So having said that, this is a accessibility and convenience issue. But if you're doing one of those caches, there's a good chance, higher likelihood that you may be bringing kids to it too. Because gadget caches for kids and everything else, that's more of a family. Everybody likes gadget caches. I got that. But that's one of the ones you would take your kids to, right? As opposed to like the Tupperware in the woods. You're going to take your kid to that. You get all the way there and you can't do it because the batteries, that's a bummer because you didn't know to bring batteries. I like the batteries required a lot. It wouldn't be used 25% of the time, but on gadget caches, I see it as it's just like tools required, right? Tools needed or whatever.
Yeah, it falls into that.
It's more specific and it's more frequent that one tool is going to be needed quite often.
Falls into equipment. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is with what we were.
Okay, Ryan says, no, if you have your GPS with you, you have them. Okay, that's the good use for a GPS.
There's a good use.
The only use for it.
There's the good use for the GPS. Is it can hold batteries.
Yeah. Besides being dead weight in the bottom of your caching bag, you can use it for the battery storage.
It's usually the wrong type because sometimes you need 9-volt.
Right.
But I like this because now that we have a lot more people in the sport, we have a lot of people who are just learning about gadget caches. Putting a gadget cache icon is a great idea, but it doesn't let people know that they're going to need something when they
Right.
get there. Whereas if you had an attribute that says batteries required, then that would be like, ooh, I need to be prepared
Yeah.
to go to that cache. So,
And as UDAC says, sometimes you need a car battery. That is correct.
this is
Some
true.
different kind of batteries. Yeah. Now, does it solve everything? It doesn't. It doesn't solve everything. However, I think it's the opportunities for it to be used and be helpful are going to be more frequent than some of the other things.
So I'm going to list them all real quickly in the chat. And the reason being is we need people to go through and pick 3.
All right.
So
I'll start and then you go. I can tell you what mine are. Mine are obvious to me. So the runner-up, the honorable mention, is overnight required.
That is
I think that's honorable mention. I think that comes in 4th place for me.
Okay, that's your 4th place. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. For top 3, I'm going to say TB Hotel. The one that kind of combined one, the internet required, no cell phone, or not the internet required, but the no cell phone, the services when we called it.
Yeah.
And then batteries required. That's my top 3. I think a lot of these, other than clothing optional, which I'm just going to continue to make fun of, other than clothing optional, I think every other one of these is because I think hazard is a good one. But I think as far as the most useful, TB Hotel, batteries required, and services, internet, cell service, or whatever, not there. Yeah. Either they have them there or they don't have them there. Yes, no.
You could do You could do the required, not required, or let's see how they word that. Present, not present. You could throw them under hazard and be a present, not present. I guess conditions. It's under conditions.
Yeah.
It's under. It could be a yes, no under conditions is where you'd put that.
The thing is, again, as I'm going to continue to make fun of it because I think it'd be funny to have a clothing optional event. Outside of the clothing optional one, I think every other one of these are legitimate. Like, I know we've been playing around a lot with it, but I think they're all legitimate attributes. So it'd be helpful to a lot of people.
Angel liked yours.
TV Hotel, no cell. Okay, yeah. And again, I think it depends on where you are to see how useful it's going to be for you.
Right. Different people are now, let's see, everybody's kind of getting no signal available. Right.
I think everybody's kind of agreeing with that one. I think looking at the answer so far, no cell or signal everybody is listing that one. So that's probably our number 1.
Yeah, it looks that way.
A lot of people are saying hazard. I don't disagree with that.
TB Hotel
hazard would be extremely useful. TB Hotel would just be kind of a convenience.
It's an added, right?
Yeah.
Cache the Line, his were the hazard of no cell, TB Hotel, and overnight required. So he likes that. He likes your 4th one more than let's see, which one did he leave out of the? He left out the overnight, I guess.
Batteries required.
He left the batteries one out. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's hard for me to say, but I think batteries required is a good one. It's a convenience one. TB Hotel is a convenience one. The other ones are more like accessibility and safety.
Yeah. I think I fully, I mean, not that we usually do, because you and I are different, which makes for a rich show.
It'd be boring if there was 2 of the same people on here. So
yeah, it would be. So we're different, which is great. We get along great, and we are different people for sure about things. So yeah, but I am agreeing with you on these. I think those are the 3 that I like the best. Batteries required, which is important in today's world, even though there's a gadget or a field puzzle. Field puzzle doesn't mean, because there's plenty of field puzzles out there that don't require a battery.
Well, yeah, think about those monkey puzzles that are like PVC that, Derek's got a few videos on showing how to make those, but no, Derek doesn't. Oh,
I do.
Okay? Me and Derek have talked about it. Anyway,
I have the one that's at the Cotton Museum here, where it doesn't need a battery. It's a creative cache.
That's yours. Okay. Yeah.
We've defined it correctly, which is so it falls under field puzzle. The field puzzle attribute is correct because you get there, it's got a lock. You can't get to the cache. Can't get to the logbook unless you solve the field puzzle, which is the outside of the cache. So
yeah,
if it was one of those cool gadget caches that the Gadget Talk guys talk about, you could do field puzzle attribute and you could do batteries required, which means that, hey, you need to show up with, a 9-volt or whatever, or need to read I need to read the description of the cache better to know which type of battery to bring. So,
yeah, I think we're all pretty close. The batteries required. Somebody said for batteries required, we've typically used special tool required. I agree. That's what I've always used too.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just another. We're talking about additional ones. Yeah, I don't disagree with that either.
No, I agree. But I think those are the three. People are.
They're pretty close. All of those three. And again, it's going to be, if we're just picking on what we would use more, I might pick different than what I thought would be more useful to more people.
Sure. No, that's true.
I would use the overnight required more than any of them.
Right.
Because I want to know when, like it's an overnight camping excursion that we're going to or whatever. To me, that's the kind of thing I'm interested in. But
that's the thing too. You have to think about is it's not just you going.
Most needed attribute tonight. Click on the like button. That's funny.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
And Ryan says the special tool required there is ladder or boat.
Okay.
So it's going to be different in every area, right? Because it's up for interpretation. You can't have 500 attributes. I mean, you could, but it would get overly complicated, right?
It would. But we could use some more. We could use 3 more.
We could use 3 more.
Tomorrow morning.
If you had to vote on one, which one would you pick?
Oh, gosh. If I had to pick just
what's your number one?
Oh. I think the internet required or no cell internet. Yeah, the services.
Services available or not available?
Yeah. Internet reception service, however you want to word that one, I think is my number one for a couple of reasons. One is, this is the other thing you have to remember. People like to use these for planning. And it's important. It's important to give people options when you're trying to plan either a route or, for example, that would have been a nice one to know what they are, because when you go to a location, if you've never been there before, like when we were doing the Texas County Challenge, we went to places. I mean, even though I'm from Texas, parts of the state, I'm sure there's everybody there listening worldwide. There's a part of your country or state you've never been to, and right now you couldn't tell me, other than you look at a map, but you probably couldn't tell me whether the service is any good or not.
No, there's absolutely remote. There's definitely remote parts of my state that have no cell service.
Right, and that's good to know because you can offline your caches ahead of time, and you're good to go. But you need to know that. It doesn't help you to offline it because, you can always log the cache later. Yeah. I at least planned, and there was caches out in the middle of nowhere, Texas, where we found caches using my phone, by the way, which won't get into tonight again. But I don't need GPS for it. But I did have to offline because obviously you're not going to get them if you're not that.
So Adi says we need to do a show on what existing attributes should be removed, like horses allowed, cross country skis required. I think we'll do that one as a patron only show. Yeah, just because it'll probably get wild very quickly. But
scenic
maybe on the 23rd. Is that what it is? The next patron party?
Campfires. Yeah.
Maybe we can talk about that during our game time.
Quads.
What attributes are absolutely worthless? That's probably not a good public show, but we can do that with a smaller group of close friends.
Yeah, exactly. Sadly, I think wireless beacon no longer really. I mean, how many times have you? I don't know.
That's still being used.
Yeah, but I mean, I can see where we leave it, but we're talking about stuff we wanted to.
But we'll talk about that on the Patron show.
Yeah,
we're talking about the ones to add now. The ones that I think are dumb, we'll talk about that. Or we think are dumb, we'll talk about that coming up.
Yeah. So the 3 you should see tomorrow morning will be batteries required, cell, no cell. I don't call them cells anymore. Internet, no internet. Reception services, and TB hotel. So looking forward to using those tomorrow. And there you go.
That's right. They'll be turned on. It'll probably be midnight, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's
oh no. Gary just spilled the beans.
Oh man, I wish
for the patron show, be prepared to defend which 3 have to be voted off the island. We're gonna get rid of 3 of them. We're gonna strike them out. So you come to the patron show ready to back up your argument of which 3 are going to be gone. Like, there you go. Absolutely gone the next day.
Yeah. All right.
Donut establishment nearby. Show's over. That's the answer. Donuts nearby is the most important attribute to have.
And
all right, so are we going to put up Brian Ross' personal cell number now so we can call him? Everybody can call him tonight, or?
Oh no,
Jesse
just spilled the beans.
That one is so disturbing. That disturbs me every time it happens.
I did it on purpose to make it goofy.
I know. You did a good job. All right, so
there we go.
That was we were joking a lot about it, but if we were doing a real thing and we were actually voting them in, those are real legitimate attributes.
I agree. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you Tuesday night for Puzzle Talk. And then also down the road, we'll see you next, if not Tuesday, we'll see you Sunday. So good show. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
May your finds be many, and your DNFs be few. May the terrain and difficulty both be less than 2. And whatever it is you're looking for, may it find its way to you. And may we all meet again.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Please email us your comment at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.